A wealthy and arrogant woman looks down on and bullies a black janitor simply because of his lowly job. She believes that power and status make her superior to everyone, until a hidden truth about his past is revealed. She thought she could humiliate him, but little did she know, she would be the one forced to bow her head in shame. What could have caused someone who once lived a life of privilege to lose everything in an instant? Stay tuned. This story will make you reflect and learn a profound lesson about arrogance, compassion, and how life can turn upside down in the blink of an eye. If you love thought-provoking stories like this, don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss the surprises ahead. And now the story begins. Victoria Hale had everything society deemed valuable: beauty, wealth, and power. Growing up in an affluent neighborhood in Westchester, New York, her parents shielded her from life's hardships. Her father was a prominent attorney, and her mother, a well-connected socialite, ensured that Victoria never had to lift a finger. Her life was a continuous stream of privilege. As a child, her every wish was granted, from ponies and designer clothes to private tutors. But as she grew older, she developed a deep-seated arrogance, believing she was destined for greatness without effort. Her carefully curated circle of friends, each from backgrounds as privileged as hers, only reinforced this belief. Now, at 29, Victoria was on the verge of achieving what she considered her greatest accomplishment yet: a vice president of marketing position at a prestigious firm in New York. But her ambition wasn't driven by passion for the work. It stemmed from an obsession with proving her superiority over everyone else. To Victoria, Daniel was nothing more than a janitor. But to those who took the time to know him, Daniel Carter was a man of resilience and unwavering strength. In Atlanta, he had once embodied the American dream. With nothing but a toolbox and sheer determination, he built Carter Construction from the ground up. His company was more than just a business, it was a cornerstone of the community. He provided jobs for those in need of a second chance: former convicts, single parents, and young people without experience. But then, the economic recession struck. Contracts dried up, debts mounted, and Daniel was forced to shut down his company. With no safety net, he lost his home, his savings, and eventually his wife, who couldn't withstand the pressure. Now, in New York, Daniel worked as a janitor to make ends meet. He lived in a modest apartment in the Bronx and sent every spare dollar to his daughter, who was studying nursing in Atlanta. Though life had stripped him of many things, it never took his dignity. Daniel believed that hardships shaped a person, and he refused to let bitterness define him. Their first encounter happened on a rainy Monday morning. Running late and irritated, Victoria stormed into the company lobby, only to find Daniel mopping the floor. "Are you serious?" she snapped, her voice echoing through the marble hallway. Daniel looked up, calm and unruffled. "Good morning, ma'am. I'll move out of the way right now." "Right now isn't good enough," Victoria hissed. "Do you have any idea that people like me have real jobs to do? You're holding us all up." A few employees nearby paused to watch the exchange. Their expressions were a mix of discomfort and disbelief. Daniel nodded, silently stepping aside and resuming his work without another word. But Victoria wasn't finished. As she strode past him, she muttered just loud enough for him to hear, "Maybe if people like you worked harder, you wouldn't have to mop floors for a living." Her words were sharp as a blade, but Daniel let them pass, just as he had with countless cruel remarks before. What Victoria failed to realize was that her behavior didn't just affect Daniel. It left a lasting impression on everyone who witnessed it. Victoria's treatment of Daniel wasn't an isolated incident. In the weeks that followed, she seemed determined to make his job even more difficult. One morning, she accidentally spilled her Starbucks right next to Daniel's cleaning supplies. "Oh dear, my bad," she smirked, her tone devoid of any real apology. "Looks like you've got work to do." Another time, she deliberately left a pile of trash in the middle of the office floor, slapping a sticky note on top that read, "Clean this up immediately." Still, Daniel remained professional. "Of course, ma'am," he replied, his voice steady and respectful. He never gave her the satisfaction of reacting to her provocations. But Victoria's cruelty wasn't limited to Daniel. She had another target, Lauren Mitchell, her biggest rival in the race for the vice president position. Lauren was everything Victoria wasn't: kind, empathetic, and widely respected throughout the company. Victoria saw her as a threat and was willing to do whatever it took to bring her down. Her chance to humiliate both Daniel and Lauren came during an important client meeting. Victoria had deliberately spilled water just outside the conference room, ensuring that Daniel would have to come in and mop it up in the middle of the meeting. As he worked quickly and efficiently, Victoria turned to the clients with a slow, mocking smile. "Imagine that," she mused, her tone light but dripping with condescension. "You've come here to discuss multi-million-dollar campaigns, and this is the first thing you see." Uneasy glances were exchanged. The clients were clearly uncomfortable with Victoria's words. Across the table, Lauren could no longer stay silent. "Victoria, this is unnecessary," she said firmly. Victoria scoffed. "Oh, come on. I'm just stating the facts. He's here to do his job, and so am I." Daniel straightened, his gaze locking onto Victoria's. "Ma'am, I'm simply doing the job I was hired for. I hope you're doing the same." The room fell into silence. His words hung in the air, and for the first time, a flicker of unease crossed Victoria's face. What she didn't know was that a junior employee had secretly recorded the entire incident. Within hours, the video spread across the office. The backlash was swift. HR summoned Victoria for a formal reprimand. Her reputation unraveled in an instant, but instead of reflecting on her actions, Victoria only grew angrier. "This is ridiculous," she fumed to Lauren over lunch. "Everyone is just overly sensitive these days. I was just telling the truth." Lauren shook her head.
No, Victoria.
"You were cruel, and sooner or later you'll pay the price for it." A week later, the CEO called for an all-hands meeting to announce the promotion decision. Victoria entered the conference room, her head held high, but her stomach twisted with anxiety. She was certain the position was hers. But then the CEO spoke another name. "Congratulations to Lauren Mitchell, our new Vice President of Marketing." The room erupted in applause. Victoria sat frozen, her face pale. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. After the meeting, she stormed into the CEO's office. "I deserved that position," she shouted. "You're letting a janitor ruin my career." The CEO leaned back in his chair, his voice cold and sharp. "No, Ms. Hale, you ruined your own career. Daniel Carter has displayed more professionalism and integrity than you ever have. If you can't treat others with respect, you have no place here." Victoria's downfall was swift. Within days, word of her treatment of Daniel and Lauren had spread throughout the company. Clients requested to work exclusively with Lauren. Colleagues distanced themselves from her. And Daniel? He was rising. The CEO promoted him to facilities manager, offering him a higher salary, better benefits, and, most importantly, a platform to help others. One evening, as Daniel was leaving the office, he spotted Victoria sitting alone on a bench outside the building. She sat hunched over, staring blankly at her phone screen, her eyes empty. He thought about walking away, but then he remembered the days when he, too, had been swallowed by despair. He stepped closer. "Ms. Hale," his voice was low but steady. "Life has a way of humbling us. Maybe this is your chance to change." Victoria didn't respond. She turned away, hiding the tears that were dangerously close to spilling. A few months later, Victoria was no longer with the company. Her reputation as a workplace bully had spread, making job opportunities scarce. She spent long days reflecting on the past, haunted by the realization that she had no one to blame but herself. And Daniel? He used his new position to establish a scholarship fund for students from underprivileged backgrounds. At the first charity gala, Lauren stood before a room full of guests, speaking with emotion about how Daniel had inspired her. That night, as Victoria mindlessly scrolled through social media, she came across photos from the event. For the first time, the full weight of her actions hit her. Daniel had risen above her cruelty, proving that kindness and integrity would always be stronger than arrogance and privilege. This story serves as a reminder that the way we treat others can shape our own destiny. Arrogance can take everything away, but kindness and integrity are the most enduring values of all. If you were in Daniel's position, what would you have done? Have you ever faced injustice but still chosen dignity and compassion? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might inspire someone today. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to share it with your friends and family to spread the message of respect, kindness, and second chances. Thank you for watching and being part of our journey. Hit subscribe so you won't miss the next meaningful story. Wishing you a day filled with positivity and happiness. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. These stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any specific individual or organization. They are shared to promote human values and life lessons and have been rewritten with the assistance of AI. If there are any inaccuracies, we appreciate your understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.